the players in this game. Spawning up here in the top position, he is Afrika Freaks, DRG. And his opponent down here in the bottom, he is DPG's Cure. Now, these two players have had quite the year. DRG is back and better than ever, honestly, for from his service. So he is done with all that military stuff. So we still can get a few good years of StarCraft II out of him before he decides to move on to greener pastures. And Cure, just recently taking a very solid victory versus some very strong opponents in the King of Battles tournament. That was a couple of weekends ago. Just really showing amazing play and showing that he is a force to be reckoned with. It just seems so easy for him to take those victories, and I think even for him, he might have been a little bit surprised beating some of those players. So honestly, he is at the top of his game as well. And it's really going to come into play here. We got to see, is the old going to clash with the new here? As we're going to see this Reaper going to be the first real indication of anything going on. Cure actually able to catch the third hatchery from forming. So that is going to be a little bit delayed for DRG. But honestly, that's a pretty small delay. It's really nice for Cure to start things off that way, but it's not going to have a huge impact on how this game is going to go. Although Cure is going to be going for a very aggressive 3cc opening. What this allows him to do essentially is get that economy rolling very quickly. It keeps him equal on bases with his opponent for a bit longer, and it really just allows him to begin solid, methodical pushes across the map a lot earlier because he has that extra mule production, and he can just pump out Marines just so quickly. Now, Kier behind this, he's going pretty standard. He's only got those Hellions on the way. We don't see any additional racks being thrown down, just the starport. So there's not going to be anything too crazy to start things off, like a Hellbat timing. But we also do see that Viking, which is going to be really good for denying the positioning of these overlords. He's just going to be able to pick those off and really just keep DRG in the dark for as long as possible. And now, right now, he's kind of just hanging out on the creep. He doesn't feel confident enough to kind of dive in with these Hellions. He's just playing it very safe. But DRG's creep spread is already very scary for him right now. Even if he would have lost that, it would have been scary still. But this is one of DRG's big strengths. He's always pushing that creep. The second he loses some creep, it's already back and ready to go. And actually, we're going to be seeing Cure going for this mech style of play. So that's one of the big reasons why he is trying to get rid of as much vision as possible. Now, Cure DRG, to his credit, is going for those earlier upgrades. That's going to allow him to be a lot safer versus any kind of push. And actually, this is interesting, as we do have Stim, Marines, and a double factory play. Now, that is very interesting. looks like Cure is going to be going for very concentrated Widow Mines as well, because he does have Tunneling Claws with that very fast armory. So Cure just all over the place in his build order here, just trying to get a little bit of everything. But if he is going to go for any sort of a bio play off of this, he's going to have to throw down the additional racks in order to be safe. He does get scouted on the drop, and these Lings do get in. A really good pull here by DRG, going to get quite a few workers, having to force the Hellions to come on back. Gives him a little bit of extra room out there on the map. And now he has seen that this drop has gone down, and 9 workers to start this game off. You know, DRG is still feeling pretty comfortable here. He's up on 63 workers. He'd love to start getting to that, up into that 80s number. He really wants to play it a little bit more safe in terms of that economy. Over here in the main base, not really too much going on. The Widow Mine drop does get kind of cleaned up. The only damage is a little bit of queen problems, but that can be easily transfused. On the other side, though, we do have another Widow Mine drop, getting 8 workers before going down, and he's actually going to be able to save at least one of those mines. So Cure able to he's able to equalize the damage in workers, and he's going to keep up with this dropping style, it looks like. And I think from here, DRG really just has to take advantage of the fact that Cure has not been pumping out any Marines, so he's not going to have any additional burst damage behind any of this. So a lot of these mules, a lot of these SCVs are going to go down. We did have one more drop go down somewhere, but really this is the big story of it, as DRG is going to be coming in here and killing off this third base, forcing that lift for such a long time. And it looks like the Widow Mines are about to get cleaned up. So DRG is strongly ahead in this game. Even losing 12 workers isn't going to be the biggest deal for him here, as you know, Cure is still powering up. He still doesn't have a very strong army to deal with this. Here once again going to be able to get in here and do some counter damage. He does lose the meta. He almost loses the medevac though, so that's going to be really difficult to get out of there. And you know, I think DRG is actually going to start trying to push the issue a little bit more. Unfortunately, taking a pretty big Widow Mine hit there. But there's still just not a ton of Marines with this, although the Hydralisks are now completely undefended. There are no Lings to buffer for them. Cure will lose 15 more workers, but he is actually up in the worker supply now, as those mines are actually just burrowed everywhere. And so now it's kind of this weird situation where we're actually in the 10-minute mark with only 100 supply per player. So overall, this is just really a scrappy game where everything is to play for. Even hiding those Widow Mines here, so Cure just being as annoying as possible in this first game. I think DRG is not really struggling to deal with this, but he's also just getting a little bit flustered because every time he looks somewhere else, something else is in his main base trying to kill him off. that time he's able to really easily deflect it, and now he's paying a little bit more attention. So he is going to be able... Yeah, he is going to be able to try and to deal with this a little bit more. He already has the Overseers with the army and the mobile the Spore Crawlers as well. Now it just comes down to a question of, can he push this position? Can he break this line? And really, right now, it's looking like no. He's going to have to max out, potentially go up to that hive pretty soon so that he can get some more concise siege units just to push this out. And yeah, these are exactly the moves that he needs to start doing. A couple of drops of his own will help him out completely. I think at some point, Cure just needs to not drop like that. That's a really good way. That's a really good way to let DRG back into this, even though Cure does have a pretty great army supply lead and just a good supply lead overall. Yeah, look at that. Even going to kill off another one of those overlords that was trying to become a dropper lord. And DRG just taking some huge hits up at the front. Oh my goodness, there's just action all over the place right now as DRG does take that frontal engagement on the creep pretty well, and now is going to start to respread towards that third base location if he can. He did get 12 workers killed by those Baneling drops as well. But now, it's just so hard because Cure is still ahead in that army supply. He still has 72 workers, so his economy is just insane. And he is still up in these drop plays on the kills. Can't even look at units lost to see who's ahead, because as honestly, with the composition that DRG is going for, it's just going to show that Cure has killed more. But that doesn't really say too much, as he's starting to get kind of deflected at a lot of these locations, although he will get a cancel on that base location. Now, the question is, when is Cure going to do an actual push? Because all these small little engagements, all these little trades that he's taken are not going to be enough in the long run, as we do have DRG going up to Lurker Tech, getting those upgrades, and as well just pushing everything, pushing these small pushes back. So now they're going to lose a lot of their effectiveness, and I feel like at this point you just need to pool your forces together and then go for the attack, rather than try and drop and pull your opponent away at this point. You are maxed out, 128 army supply, a lot of siege tanks, by the way. There's 10 siege tanks with this army. So really, you can hold and push a location for as long as you want. Although, right now, he doesn't have a lot of those Marines set up in a way, or he doesn't have a ton of Marines at this point to protect those siege tanks. But now, he is going to be losing his third base, and DRG might have to pull back to defend here. Cure pushing so far off, so far onto creep. Currently pretty heavily supply block. He just lost so many supply depots right there, but that's not really going to stop him here, as we do have a big blinding cloud coming in. Still a couple of siege tanks able to wail away, but this push is going to completely get pulled apart. And that's one of the things. So much supply is up here in the top. Up, and now he's cleaned up here. The medevacs are gone. The Marines are gone, and that huge army supply is gone almost. DRG is now starting to get the advantage because of these plays. Now, lurkers have been found. The lurkers have been spotted, so he's going to be starting that transition into the liberators behind this. But look at that. That is just so many lurkers with this. It's going to be really difficult for the bio to engage, especially when you're losing full and almost and half full medevacs, full of units to deal with this. So, yeah, while DRG might not be able to break this position with so many siege tanks, you just can't really make it in there with what Cure's doing. Something you don't see every day, just a huge run by. We're going to see that planetary fortress fall quite rapidly. And those SCVs are now forfeit as well. He sees how many lurkers there are, and he does not stim in until he knows for a fact that they are raised. And, you know, DRG will lose quite a couple of them, but now, with them burrowed, it's going to be... it's just so hard to call right now. Although I do think DRG is in a tremendous position, even going to get, hopefully for him, a kill on this base up here. And yeah, as the siege tanks are going to be jumping up here, just forcing the lurkers to retreat. And we do have that huge counterattack, and Cure is dropping in supply very rapidly here. He's going to have to win it with what he has on the map right now. And with the lurkers in play, that's just going to be so difficult for him, as the reinforcement's going to be swarming across the map for DRG. And over double the army supply value here for DRG. I just don't know if Cure can do it at this point. Yeah, lifting is natural as well. 19 workers to 75. I think we're kind of seeing a protracted pullout here from Cure, just trying to do some damage before he taps out of this game. That's just way too much Zerg. Some big blinding clouds coming in, but even then he can just yank them in. And with those siege tanks down, that's the whole of Cure's army gone. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. DRG is taking game number 1. Oh, that's actually the wrong Stinger transition. All right, so it is going to be Cure's map choice now. So we will see what he picks to keep things rolling. All right, let's set this up. Yeah, if you're enjoying it so far, just remember this is best of 9, so there is going to be plenty of StarCraft II action left. As we're going to be hopping into Submarine for our next map. Now, this is a bit of a smaller map. The rush distance is a little bit quicker, so we'll have to see what Cure is deciding for this one, as this is his map pick. But, yeah, so far nothing going to be too crazy here, it looks like. But let's introduce these players before the action starts spawning up here in the top position of Submarine. He is Cure. And his opponent down here in the bottom, he is DRG. So one of the big things about a smaller distance map is there are going to be a lot less areas or less routes to push across for your opponent. Obviously, you do have the rocks going to be making it a little bit more of a tight squeeze to get in there. But at the same time, that just means it's a little bit easier for it's a little bit easier to kind of set and forget your units, especially if you're Terran with the, you know, just when you get those that siege tank line, especially versus the Hydralisk style, it's a little bit easier to kind of defend your bases, especially that third base, which is not just nicely tucked in with that opening there. But so far, nothing too crazy here. I think one of the big things that Cure needs to change in this game, and it's really him who needs to change if he's going to win, he needs to not divide his forces up so heavily. Basically, the Widowmine drops did very well. They created a lot of openings, a lot of damage early on, but at the same time, what happened was he just spread his forces too thin, and that allowed DRG to really just defend a little bit easier. A little bit of lag there. But yeah, that's something he really needs to avoid. A strong, concise push, especially with some of the siege tank positionings on this map, will do him a lot better. Now, we do have DRG, though, going for that very fast Roach Warren. And I don't see any drones on the production tab right now, so while this isn't an all-in, it definitely is going to be a little bit of committed pressure here for DRG. And Cure really needs to scout that this is going on. So far, he's not going to be able to get in there with the Reaper. So this might be a little bit scary for him. He does get some wind of it, though, as the bunker is up. And he is just going to sacrifice the low ground for right now. He knows that he needs to defend this. Oh, man, that has got to hurt, having that bunker just nearly complete. Now there's actually no units to put into it. So with that going down, we do have high ground vision coming in with that Overlord. So now DRG is going to able to keep the push. Losing one of the Ravagers, however, that's a bit of a mistake. But still, there's just not a ton here for Cure right now. He's just relying on those reinforcements. The Hellions in the back trying to do what they can, but the Ravager is defended by the other couple of Roaches. And now I think DRG can kind of smell blood in the water with this. As 6 workers going down, he sees that the Banshee has popped out. And honestly, that wasn't the biggest amount of damage that could be done, but still, it set him up very powerfully here. As, you know, that base has not been mining for quite a bit of time for Cure. Taking a look at those losses. Substantial. And now he can kind of just power up unabated, without worrying too heavily about any reprisal from Cure. Now, the one thing is DRG did slow down his economy quite heavily to make that attack. So he's going to have this small period where he just re-drones constantly if he wants to get up to a very powerful 70 to 80 worker economy. But here we go. 2 Banshees is enough to just one-shot the drones. Has to be careful not to go too far in. Cloak is done, but that doesn't matter when there is so much detection. And now Cure. He's up to 3 bases. He's recovered quite well. The Mule's going to be giving him that huge income boost. So he is relatively even in that regard, but now... and DRG actually doesn't have a lair just yet either. Wow, okay. So yeah, I'm starting to like Cure's position a little bit more. We don't see any kind of crazy shenanigans like the Widowmine play from last game. So now his economy is just a lot more focused. It's what's the best way to put it? It's nice. It's good for him. He's powering up. He could actually snipe a couple of queens there if he wanted. He does. Okay, he did cancel Cloak. I was wondering why he wasn't cloaking up there. But DRG does have that +1 attack upgrade, which is going to help him out because he does have that at the upgrade lead. But now he's going to have to force Cure back once again, getting a couple of siege tanks as well as a lot of SEV damage potentially here. Forcing the first kind of drop play from Cure back, and now Cure has to do it all over again. DRG's creep spread, by the way, he just has vision so far from his bases, so now Cure has to walk so far on creep if he's going to get anything. And this has allowed DRG to just start to power up that infestation pit, start up his lair timing soon as well, and just kind of keep this concerted pressure, this soft contain on 3 bases, while also just powering up in the back. So DRG wants to get the pickoff like he did in the previous game. He was just picking off medevacs all over the place. Cure being a lot more cautious with these ones. He doesn't want to give any room. So now he's gonna have to start doing some damage. We do see the Banshees coming in, get a couple of kills, as well as this big drop in the main base that's gonna be deflected. So Kier just being very cautious with this. Scan going down, it's going to reveal that the hive is indeed in play, so that's kind of giving him a little bit of a timer here. He doesn't really see anything other than these Widow Mines, so he doesn't really know what his opponent's going to be going for. Some good focus fire there, going to pick off a couple of the Banelings, but he will have to get on out of there. Behind this, though, DRG is just expanding like a madman, 2 bases at a time. But yeah, this is relatively even, but now DRG is just pushed so far forward, not just with his units, but with his creep. And now he can kind of afford to take these trades a little bit more. We do have those Vipers in production as well, and what those are going to allow him to do is break these siege lines. So, I mean, Kjord needs to transition into the Widow Mines, which he's doing. He's got the Ghost Academy coming out as well. He's hoping for the snipes, but nothing really to snipe right now as DRG is just going full on Ling aggression, nothing else. Just absolutely nothing else. And I think that's really where Kier is having a problem here. He hasn't had, with any of these pushes, a lot of splash damage. So every single time he attacks, he's just getting overwhelmed by pure numbers. A decent hit right there. It's going to hit some of his own units, and the Baneling connections are just cleaning everything up. And the sad thing is that Kier never had that +3 upgrade either, so he is not that kind of little advantage that you sort of have as Terran at this stage in the game, where your opponent is still just going for that +3. It's just not there. So Kier once again getting pushed back to the 4th. I think at the very least he needs to start cleaning up a little bit of this creep. This is a little bit ridiculous here for DRG. But yeah, just pure Lings. He does have Adrenal Glands as well, so these are just going to tear through everything. The 5th base under fire as well. 10 workers going down. And although DRG is going to back up here, I mean, he can afford to take that trade all day. He even has enough to kind of push this back. Although Kier is starting to win in this location, so a lot more reinforcements for DRG are going to have to come in to clean this up. Maybe one day, my man, but not today. So as this push starts to gain traction, it is pushed back. A couple of Trader Widowmine hits going to be enough there. But yeah, so take a look. Taking a look at that income advantage. DRG starting to run away with it a little bit. The addition of the Ultralisks as well. We do have another attack on the 5th base as well, so that's going to go down. Adrenal Glands just so good. But what does Kier really have to stop this? The answer is nothing. GG is called. DRG jumping up in this series. A very quick 2-0. So now Kier's got to be kind of wondering, what am I doing wrong? He's getting those attacks in. He's pushing with small numbers of units, but he's never consolidating his forces, and he's just not making those strong committed pushes with those siege tanks that he's just pretty much using for defense. And versus what DRG goes for in that situation, it's just not going to work like that. You need that splash. You need that AoE. You need something to take down the huge amount of lings that DRG has. So I think really what Cure needs to do here is he needs to be a little bit more aggressive, but he needs to make it a more precise strike. Not a, I'm trying to think of the best word for it. Not just harassment anymore. He can't rely on the harassment. We've seen that. He's got to beat him with the push. You know what? Let's see what these players have to say about this game. Spawning down here in the bottom, he is Afrika Freaks DRG. And his opponent up here in the top, he is DPG's Cure. Okay, so Death Aura. A bit of a bigger map, so the creep spread isn't going to be as huge as before. Although, you know, I think that's one of the things that DRG just really does well. He never really pushed too far off of creep. He did have a couple of those small little run-bys and such to kind of allow him to push that creep out so far. And when he was able to do that, it just became so difficult for Cure to push out. Just so many scans would have to be used, and on a map like this, there are quite a few attack paths, but DRG, knowing DRG and his creep spread, he's going to cover literally all of them in a sticky purple wave. We'll have to see who's going to be the first to kind of commit to that aggression as well. As the big roach attack, it didn't do as well as I initially had thought, only getting those 6 workers. And I think that's kind of the thing. If he would have done a little bit more damage, he would have been in a much further ahead position, and that game would have gone a little bit like way shorter. But the Reaper going to come in and try and get a little bit of poking in. Again, Cure's just not really, he's not reinventing the wheel right now. Just going to go straight up for the Hellions. No third CC, so he's not going to try that again. Okay, never mind. He is going to go straight for the third command center. So once again, going to try and take advantage of the fact that this map gives him a little bit of room, being a bit bigger. And behind this, DRG is just going to be powering up a bit. Looks like he does want to get that overlord speed just so he can get in there and see what's up. And once it's going to be really telling. Once he sees that third CC, I think that's when he's going to kind of pull the trigger and decide on his tech choice here. I think DRG has been setting the pace for this game pretty well. Or not this game, but this series, rather. And we do have Banshees coming up as well. Cloak is being researched. And one thing he could do with this, go for a very concerted Hellbat Banshee poke. And that's kind of what I'm leaning towards right now. DRG does get a pretty good scout off on it. He does know what's up. But yeah, there you go. We do have that second factory going down, so I think Cure is going to be going for mech this game. This is going to be interesting to see how DRG deals with it, as he hasn't seen the second factory just yet. He wants to get a good scout off of that. Just kind of gets that confirmation, but he does have the layer started. And what that's going to allow him to do is it's going to allow him to be a bit more safe, get those overseers up, so the Banshees aren't going to be able to do as much damage. But behind this, just running up, he knows that an attack is not going to be coming. There's no push on the way with this, as Cure just needs to get a lot more before he can really push with mech. He's going to lose some mining time on this base as well, though. Good little run bys just to keep him slow. And you know what? Once again, we're going to be going for Widow Mine drops. This has been a curse for Kier, and while he doesn't take too much damage from that, he just keeps getting pulled back by these small little run-bys. Banshee's still not even really able to do anything right now. So they're pretty much just on standby as we see the Spire about to finish up, as well as the Roach Warren. Pretty much all the moves that you need to deal with this. Excuse me. Okay, so it is going to be Battle Mech. I was kind of just waiting to see whether it was Siege Tanks or Cyclones going to be produced. But yeah, here we go. Now Cure going to be trying to attack in multiple locations. He does lose the medevac with one of those mines. Just barely not going to get off. That would have been a huge connection for him, and one that he certainly needed. Yeah, Hellbats as well. Going to be pushed back by the Queens, transfused for days. And now DRG has the Mutalisks about halfway done. There's no missile turrets and only 2 Cyclones. I'm really worried for Kira in this situation. As once again, in just both locations, he's getting cleaned up, and now the Muta's going to be popping over. There's not even an engineering base, so he's going to have to rely on the Widow Mine placement in order to defend. Finally gets, the only thing he gets with that is a Queen, and again, this is just so expensive for him. Every time he comes in, he loses the medevac. He loses all of the Widow Mines, and he's not getting any connections for it. So now DRG just been given so much room. Like, it's just really, really hard to say where Cure went wrong in this one. But he's just taking a very big army supply drop there. If you take a look at that army supply, now DRG is just pushing on forward. Even going to add in the Swarm Host as well. He's going to like, he's playing it a little bit safe with the swarm hosts, but I mean, versus mech, you do have to make sure that you're not going to take too much, that you're not going to lose too much in your army. So you know, I think right now DRG is a little bit content to just kind of soft contain this, hit one location and then hit another. Although, if he is going to get that nice worm up, I would do that soon because these worm hosts are going to be completely exposed for a long time. Yeah, pretty much every second that they're out there on the map, they are very vulnerable. They do not have that speed off of creep. But Cure going to get heavily supply blocked here, losing all of those depots, and now he's losing so many units in the front. He's able to push this back a little bit, but he's also getting hit by the Mutalisks on the 4th base. That nice worm finally going to go down over there. And basically now, DRG can just rotate between these two positions as much as he wants. And yeah, with the rest of Cure's army trying to double defend here, we did see a small Widow Mine drop go down, 5 workers getting killed. But now the 3rd base is lifted up. The Cyclones trying to do what they can, but they really need that Hellbat support, which, okay, he does have Blue Flame. I was hoping that he did, because that's the only way those Hellions are going to help him out. But still, with Cure, he's going still for those Widow Mines. They've just really lost their effectiveness now versus the composition of DRG, and DRG actually just confident enough to go straight for the main base. All those swarmers are about to pop, and this is going to be a really bad situation for Cure, as he's getting pushed off the 3rd base. He's getting pushed in the main. I think those Mutalisks as well can push over at the 3rd base. He does just have a couple of them, but still. You're just having a really tough time today versus DRG, and I think DRG is just looking so good, so scary. He actually didn't get a lot of the production structures. I was hoping that he would get a little bit of that factory production, but still, Cure gonna have to tap out of this game. He realized the writing was on the wall, so GG is called. So very, very quick. I don't want to say very quick. I want to say very, very concise 3 games so far for DRG. All right. So I'm trying to get the thought out while also trying to get the lobby started up. But remember, guys, if you want to check out the Matcherino page for this, the link is in the chat over there. If you do so, you are going to get you are going to be able to add free 50 cents to the prize pool. And that might not seem like a lot, but there are a lot of codes that you can use. So if you use APS 214, that adds that 50 cents for free. And you're really helping out the players when you do that. And it looks like we've got a ghost called here on Pillars of Gold. And now this one's kind of another interesting one here, because you do have that base up there in the top, that 3rd base location, which is a little bit further away from your opponent. So it's going to kind of be interesting here because the way DRG's been playing, he's been very aggressive. So I kind of expect him to take that. I kind of expect him to take that third base location, that more aggressive third base to push out the creep. But, you know, we'll have to see. These guys definitely know a little bit more than I do. And so, let's introduce our player spawning up here in the top position. He is down, but he is not out. He is DPG's Cure. And his opponent down here in the bottom, just absolutely steamrolling right now. He is Africa Freaks, DRG. So I think the big elephant in the room is that Cure has not been able to get consolidated damage. He's been going essentially for these little bits of burst damage here and there. And he's been, like, he did get some good damage in game number 1 with those Widowmine drops, but really just every single time he pushed, it was completely disjointed. There wasn't really that effort to move in with his whole force. I feel like if he would have hit a little bit of a timing there with his forces, especially considering that he had over 10 siege tanks with his army, he would have been able to kind of push the issue a little bit more. And I think that's really where he's kind of struggling here versus DRG. He's been allowing him to get up to that point where really DRG can split his forces and effectively deal with those multi-prong harassment styles that Kira's been going for. You know, Kira's definitely not down and out by any stretch of the imagination. There's still a lot of StarCraft II left to play. We do have that third CC coming down as well, so I mean, really, he's been going for that aggressive expansion, those aggressive expansions, and that's allowed him to kind of push the games out further. Oh my goodness, if he lost that to Slowlings, I would have lost it. But yeah, if he's able to push the games out longer, but he's not really doing anything with them. Once that creep spread starts to get around halfway across the map as well, he kind of just he's kind of just been shutting down, not really trying to clear that up. So DRG just able to do those slow, methodical pushes and take those engagements pretty darn well. Do you know what? To Kier's credit, he is trying a bunch of different things. 3 different arcs. I can't count. I went to public school. 4 games so far, 4 different strategies. Going for the Liberator this time. I think the Liberator will add a little bit here, but you're gonna have to do something as well with the Hellions. I feel like you send the Liberator into the main base and then dive on the natural. I don't think DRG's really been making too many lings, so it's a little bit easier to dive in there. But there you go. We do see that double racks coming in as well. That economy starting to boom. yeah, they're started up now. Cure kind of just waiting to pull the trigger, I assume. But once again, he just doesn't have anything at home, so all these Hellions are going to have to come home to defend. 6 workers going down so far, more to follow. And that's really just not good for Cure right now. He needs to do, a little bit better job of keeping, unit placement for the defense so that he doesn't take that kind of damage. And now, DRG's just going, he's just going home. Like, he didn't really need to kill him with that. He didn't really need to do anything other than throw Cure off. He's got the Liberator set up, and here comes a little bit of a dive on that 4th base, but that Liberator's still not moving. He's not... he's just not kind of syncing up these attacks right now, so he's just really having trouble getting in. Does get to clear up the creep. There you go. Still plenty of active tumors, though. The Queen's had plenty of energy left. Okay, so now we do have Spire about halfway complete. Once that completes, you know, it's still tricky. Cure, like, he's never been behind at this stage, really, other than that mech game where he just really fell behind quickly and couldn't catch back up. The problem is that DRG is kind of killing him by death by 1,000 cuts, and now here we go. Finally, a bit of a bigger push here from Cure. This is kind of what I was hoping for. Combat shield's not yet done, but there are no banelings with this just yet. By that I mean there's no fast banelings, so he is going to have to stay on the creep. Keeps quite a few of those Marines back at the siege tank as well. Great positioning here. Going to clean up a lot of those siege tanks. Now the Mutas are going to have to join the fight, but there's just so many Marines with this. I think this is the push that Cure really needed. And now DRG is going to be going across the map, trying to get some counter damage done to pull Cure back, but I don't think Cure really wants to stop this. Mutas are going to get rebuffed as well. It's pretty much just the Queens, and the Banings do have speed now, so that's going to be pretty much his saving grace. He is down so much army supply. And there you have it. Cure putting himself on the board. Now it is a series, ladies and gentlemen. Already knowing exactly where he'd like to go. But yeah, a small change right there. A bit of a crisper timing. Hitting before, like, he probably recognized that Spire was probably on the way. And the thing about Spire is that you're not going to have a ton of gas because you are banking on those Mutalisks being a little bit unscouted. And yeah, that means there was less Banelings. They didn't have speed, so they attack. And then he kept attacking into that position. I feel like if he would have kept the Mutalisks back at home, there was a period where the Marines were very low health. Like, there was no healing going on with them whatsoever. So they would have been a lot easier to clean up. But he sent the Mutos across the map. And he essentially paid for it with his life. There's a lot of things that I can take away from that game, but you know what? The thing they always say is that you must look forward, and you know what? I am looking forward to this guy in the top position. What he gonna bring out? He is Afrika Freaks DRG. And down here in the bottom, if you have a sick game, this is the guy you want to come to. He is DPG's Cure. It's funny because the way this series has been, it feels like it should be a lot further along. I feel like I kind of feel like it should be just a little bit crazier. But you know what? We do have some crazy shenanigans here. Taking a page out of the Beyond handbook of Tom Foolery. 3 Rax Reaper, and this is not going to get scouted for quite a bit of time. So really, DRG has a couple of options here. The best way to deal with this is you need to start picking off the reinforcing Reapers. Just keep them from really consolidating into a big, scary Reaper ball. But DRG just doesn't know that this is here yet at all. He sees the 1 Reaper. And the question is DRG going to run up here in the next couple of seconds? Yeah, a little bit of a drone wave. But now, like, he has to know that this is coming. He's seen the couple of dots. He's seen a couple of dots come across, and that's one of the first moves, I guess. Connecting the bases so that the queens can help with the defense. But now, Cure can kind of jump around in these locations. And just really rotate around between the natural and the main base relatively easily. Even going to get a queen pick off. There is no transfuse, so he's just going to try and dive on it, but does lose a Reaper in the process. Yeah, this is getting dicey here for DRG so far. And that Reaper count just continuing to grow. Luckily that transfused at the very last second. And, you know, I do kind of like this. This is trying to force the Reapers back home. It's not going to work that much, but it does give DRG just a little bit of a second hesitation there for Cure. In order to kind of set up these Lings positioning. And I think behind this, DRG might just go all in off the back of it. He might feel that his opponent is only going for Reapers, so it would be kind of cool to see him just drop a Baneling Nest and go for a big committed Baneling push off the back of this. Because right now, you don't really see too much else going on for Cure other than pure Reaper, Reaper, Reaper. Only just now starting Marine production. But already, this is pretty bad. Cure losing a bunch of those Reapers. Got to keep those Reapers consolidated. So, what's really next for Kier? The big thing that you can usually do off the back of this is you have stim started. You're kind of gearing up for that next big push with the Marines. That's going to be a little bit delayed here for Kier, as he does decide to add on the Hellions as well. So he's going to go for a very big committed attack with this. And I really want to see how DRG deals with this. As those Hellions going to add a lot of firepower and keep the Lings going well. But actually, Cure getting completely caught out. He thought you could jump up there, and it's going to lose quite a few Reapers for it. The Hellion's going to be really damaged as well. So this will get completely cleaned up here. We do see the Baneling Nest finally going to be dropped. +1 upgrades on the way as well. So he is going to have that upgrade lead for a little bit. But already, Cure has enough for the double medevac drop off the back of this. I do like this move from DRG, however. He's going to be going straight for the third base, try to pull this back. There's not that much at home to defend for Cure. But it looks like Cure is already committed to this. And now DRG is the one a little bit out of position. So without Banelings, without Lings either, Cure, oh my goodness, he is pulling this series back in a big way. Finally able to get really consolidated damage now, and I think Cure is going to keep these pushes going. He does not want to give DRG any room to breathe. Consolidating his forces, that's exactly what I wanted him to do. And going for this big methodical push. The spawning pool is not done just yet, so every unit that DRG loses is not going to be replaced right now. Although Kier taking a couple of big hits, he still has more than enough to push his way through. Fourth base going to go down. And while I think DRG will finally be able to push this back, all that damage taken is pivotal for him. And there you have the reinforcements going to come in and help out. DRG finally able to clean it up, however. So it's not over yet, ladies and gentlemen. But the thing is, Cure's production, he is pumping out 9 Marines at a time. He's got Liberators on the way. His +2 upgrades are going to start soon once that armory completes. And he's also got the second factory finishing up as well. DRG, he just doesn't have a ton of larva production, I don't think. Yeah, he's using up pretty much everything on these Lings, and he's going to have to do some more damage if he wants to make it work. But this is a huge commitment by him across the map, and he's not going to have a ton back at home to defend. He doesn't even have Baneling speed just yet. Just realizing that. Even killing off all this creep. Oh, that's huge. The one thing going for DRG right now is that he does have that upgrade advantage. 6 workers do go down. The Liberator is going to be in the main base. And Cure is just starting to pull DRG apart a little bit in this game. Oh, he's losing all of the queens as well. He's getting cleaned up on this side, but does it really matter? Cure taking such a heavy army supply lead here. And the sad thing for DRG right now is he does have that Hydralisk Den up and running, but he doesn't really have the time to push it in. Like, he can't make anything right now other than Lings for the defense. A couple of Hydralisks, not going to do it. Yeah, there we go. Now the drops are going to start working again and again. Just keep dropping and pushing the front as well. DRG divided his forces, but he's not really winning the fights decisively anymore. He's trading out pretty evenly. Yeah, I think this is kind of the pushing that Cure knows that he's won this game, and he's just continuing to drive up his lead as GG is called, and we go into game number 6 on a 3-2 score. So, oh my goodness, Cure on an absolute tear in the past couple of games. Let's get this lobby set up. I'm so glad that he came back in this series. I was gonna be really sad if it started to be too big of a blowout for DRG. But you know what, guys, there's still a lot of, like I said, there's still a lot of StarCraft II left to play, at least 2 more games. Hopefully we go the full distance to full 9. But whoever you support, give it up for these players. Spawning up here in the top position, he is Africa DRG. As opponent. Down here in the bottom, he is DPG Cure. Now Kier's already started his comeback within striking distance of evening up this series. So the question is he going to do anything too crazy here? I feel like the answer should be no. I don't think it would really do too well for him to kind of throw away a lead and send his opponent up to match point by doing some sort of cheeky cheddar play. So I think DRG kind of playing it a little bit safe as well, so it would get scouted a little bit easier. As you can kind of see, the first couple of Overlords just looking for those SCVs, building the Raxes. Yeah, now Kier's going to be a little bit of a nuisance here and just delay that third base for as long as possible. actually a really cool sound that they make off this skin. Now with this Reaper in play, the Lings are not able to help the third base, so that engineering bay is getting very close to completion. And he's actually just gonna let it complete. So yeah, now that third base is gonna be pretty heavily delayed. I think the best thing DRG can do is just take that low ground base, his fourth, as his third. And then from there, kind of just have that position back. Once again, Kier trying to get that block, but not able to get it. So far getting 2 kills as well. This Reaper getting some work done. You know, behind this Cure, he does have a bit of a slower, slower thing going on right now. He doesn't, he's not really making anything other than those Hellions. But I think DRG has kind of had enough here, kind of recognized that this was kind of a nuisance here for him. So he's just going to go straight for the Roach Warren and maybe try and kill his opponent early. I don't know if that's going to be the best option just because we do have Banshees going to be on the way. Or not, I guess. It looked like he was going to start up Banshees, but the Viking going to be able to clean up the Overlord and make any kind of attack here from DRG be a little bit less powerful with no high ground vision. But yeah, we'll have to see how DRG does with this. DRG now supply block from that Viking. But you know, we do have that additional factory going to be popped on as well. There is a Liberator, so getting up to that high ground is going to be a bit of a challenge. But here we go. The Liberator does get a few pokes off on it, but it's not going to be enough to kill it just yet. The bunkers will finish, but a lot of SCVs having to be pulled here. 7 workers going down. That's already better than the last time he did this. Viking dropped as well, and DRG is much more committed to this time around. Currently 24 more Lings on the production tab, and here we go. The Liberator going to get picked off very early in the fight. The first bunker going to fall. Second bunker going to fall right on after it, and a lot is gone down here. I don't know if Cure can hold. He's just going to sacrifice the low ground. And keep in mind, he does have that 3CC, so if he's able to stabilize, he is going to have mules to help him out. But at this point, DRG has done the damage that he needs to do. He's droning up behind it as well, getting starting the Evo chambers for those upgrades. And now with that siege tank gone, actually there is one in the back, so he is not able to push up there. But yeah, now DRG can actually just leave this position. He doesn't need to kill him here is the big thing. He's taken such a heavy lead. Army size, income. Yes. And now Kier's going to have to play very defensively, just buying himself so much time. Stim only just now started. That second factory was pumping out siege tanks for the defense. So now, what's DRG's next move is the big question here. He's gonna have those. He's gonna have that upgrade advantage. for quite a bit of time. And on top of that, going up to lair, so we might see. I kind of want to say that this is a Spire type of game. You know, one thing for Cure, he has been going for that very fast second factory. This time it did save his bacon a bit, but at the same time it's really kind of delaying any kind of push that he can do. Slows down his marine production a bit, makes these drops a little bit less efficient because there's not much, there's less at home to defend if DRG decides to counterattack. And yeah, now DRG, with that army supply, is just able to defend this locations a little bit. Liberator, or the Viking even, going to be coming over here and getting pushed away. Alright, so 11 Mutalisks is the next stage here. And you know, Widowmine production hasn't really started to kick off just yet. He doesn't have the Tunneling Claws because he does need the army for it. Trying to drop to kill off the Banelings, that's pretty, that's a cute little play from Cure right now. Scan going to go down, revealing not too much actually. But you know, here we go. This is DRG's moment to shine as he's going to get quite a few siege tank kills here, as well as kill off the drop. So already some really good pickups here, and he's still able to push Cure back in this location. He's currently, look at this, 111 to 62. Small little Widowmine drop going to go in here and kill off 12 workers, but that's not really that big of a deal for DRG right now. He can easily replenish that worker count. Still though, it is a little bit annoying to deal with them. Now that with that armory, those Widowmines are not going to be revealed until you get some detection. But now, Cure, he's completely maxed out and he feels safe enough to throw up that infestation pit. So he's going to go up to Hive Tech, and really, Cure doesn't have too big of an answer here as DRG going to be popping his way into this base. A couple of pretty big Widowmine connections going to help him out a little bit, but there's still so much Zerg here as DRG starting to push his way forward. And that is going to be it. Cure taps out once again. DRG going up to match point, and we are going to go into game number 7. The last map in the series until it resets. So in a best of 9, obviously we have the 7 ladder maps. Did Cure go? Hang on, guys. I think Okay, so we have to get the players. Oh, there he is. Okay. That was pretty funny actually. Yeah, that can happen sometimes. The players think it's a best of 7, and they tap out because these guys are busy. They have some very important stuff to do. Um, it's around dinner time. They want to go get something to eat, and this is just StarCraft II. It's always going to be there when you come back. Although we'll have to see if there is going to be a comeback for this guy spawning down in the bottom position. He is DPG's Cure. And his opponent up here in the top. He is on match point. He is DRG. So would like to remind everybody that there are still some match arena codes left. So if you want to help these players out and add a little bit of cash, a little bit of cheddar to the prize pool for absolutely free, go ahead and use the link in the chat. Use that code APS214, and that will allow you to add that 50 cents to the prize pool for free. And the thing is, 50 cents, it might not sound like a lot, but if everybody uses that code, it does add up to quite a bit. And I'm sure these guys will definitely appreciate the support. So now we do see a little bit of a difference here. We didn't see that Marine popping out for Cure before. Kind of playing it a bit more standard, a little bit more methodical. Yeah, one thing I've been liking is Cure just able to kind of keep his opponent back with this Reaper and actually doing a bit more damage to those Lings. So getting those kills is always really nice. And once again, he does go for that 3CC to allow himself to get up to that 3-base War Machine Terran army very quickly. And now, he is going to get that starport. I do think there will be a tech lab here. There it is. So, Banshees potentially in the cards here for it. And the thing about Banshees is they're very kind of hit or miss, almost. Like, they work out really great when the opponent is going for a bit of a slower layer timing, getting it around 6 minutes rather than the 4 or 5. But, DRG, he looks to be setting up once again. He's got that Roach Warren down. And actually, it's not going to be Banshees. It's going to be straight up BCs. And a Banshee. So kind of a little bit of a mind game here from Cure. He wants his opponent to think that it's Banshees before he goes for the BC. But the question is, will it help him out? Because it looks like DRG is going to be going for this very big committed attack once again. 8 roaches on the production tab. The Ling production has kicked off as well. He's pretty much going to be pumping these out as quickly as he can spawn his larva. You had a big dinner. There you go. Yeah, here we go. That battle cruiser is about halfway done, so that's not going to help out too much. The Hellions going to be enough to deal with the Lings in the front, but the good news for Cure is he hasn't lost too much just yet. Only 5 workers going down with this. Although the Ravagers are now on top. A couple of great biles going off as well. The question is, can the battlecruiser clean everything up quickly enough? So far, the answer is yes. The Ravagers being picked off very, very quickly. Huge swarm of Lings not actually doing anything right now. One of the big things to note as well is that wall is not complete for Cure right now. So, okay. Look at that, only 5 workers lost, and I think Cure actually comes out a little bit ahead in that situation because he can already just restart that 3 base production. He's got the mules to really push himself forward in that regard, and now the battlecruiser can kind of just jump around the map and be a bit of a nuisance here for DRG to deal with. Yeah, I think this is the best move for DRG as well. Is just getting these little bits of run by damage. Trying to do death by 1,000 cuts here, because Cure is going for mech. So it is going to be a bit of a slower build up for him here. Use of the battlecruiser is going to be very crucial, as he's going to just be committed to it for a long time. Yamato cannon going to be started up as well. So the big thing now, DRG going up to Spire for those Corruptors. That's going to be pretty important for the defense as well. Yeah, back at home, Cure just powering up. I do like this. DRG is just going to be going for those upgrades. He wants to keep that upgrade lead, and I think he'll be able to do so pretty effectively here. Corruptors popping soon. Got to be careful. He's actually going to use one of those Yamato cannons on the Spore Crawler. That's a bit of a misplay there, because now there's going to be less for the Corruptors, but he is just going to teleport right on out of there. He does not want to risk losing these battlecruisers early on. That's the worst thing that can happen in this situation here. So now the big question is, what is next for DRG? He's going to try and get in here with a small little run by, but that's going to be picked off pretty quickly. Scan's going to go down, try and clear up some of the creep as well. I think versus mech, especially typical mech with siege tanks and Hellions, it's very important to keep that creep spread low. I mean, it's important to keep the creep spread low anyway, but you really need to be able to push in very far, get very close to your opponent before they are able to really mount that defense. I'm liking it this time though for Cure. The mech is a little bit more solid for him. But now DRG, he's maxed out. He's gonna want to try and kind of trade out these units a little bit here. Just try and trade for these expensive mech units. That is a huge siege tank line, though. The Ravager's going to try and get on top of a lot here, but that's just not going to be enough to be effective there. The Corruptors are kind of flying around into that missile turret range, and he's actually not even going to be able to kill that off, despite a concerted effort. So that was a lot of lost time there for DRG. 19 more roaches on the production tab. That's pretty much all he's got. And now the Queen's getting taken down as well. He's going to have to sacrifice this base. Looks like the Corruptors did get that base, though, so that's going to help him out a little bit. He needs to keep Cure away from these new sources of gas. That gas is going to start running out soon on his first couple of bases. But one thing for DRG, he can't keep walking into siege tank fire like this. That line is not going to be broken that way. And look at that, actually getting one of the battle cruisers. So, still not going up to Hive Tech right now. DRG is starting to get a bit of a bank, which I would like to see. You know, I'm going to say it. He needs a hive. He needs a hive. He needs to start going up to Spire, to Greater Spire. Maybe get some Swarm Hosts in there as well. I think Swarm Hosts would be pretty decent. But he needs to stop taking these huge hits from the siege tanks, burning out so much supply. Cure going to take the supply lead for the first time in this game for in the longest time. I think DRG is just really committed to pushing right now. And here we go once again, just trading out, trying to get some of those siege tanks, but take some big hits off that as well. The Cyclone's going to be able to get some pickoffs on those roaches in the front. And once again, DRG is just pushed back. No Swarm Hosts, no Brood Lords, no Hive even. Just pure roach. There we go. We're finally starting to see Cure start to kind of throw away some of these Hellions. He doesn't really care about them too much. They are only mineral-based units, so they're not really too expensive for him. It's going to come down to the gas. Oh, Cure. Sorry about that. But Cure going to be already going for a transition into those Thors, kind of anticipating the switch over into Broodlords, which might be coming here soon, as we do see that. But you know, DRG able to siege his position now. The Sea Tanks were not in position just yet, but here we go. The Hellions are going to give as much damage as he's taking. Nothing really at home for DRG to defend it. That is a very big pick off there for Kier as he's going up to his 6th base or 5th base, depending on which numbering system you use. But I'm really like how Cure is just proactively transitioning from transitioning towards what he anticipates DRG to be going for. The thing is, DRG is stuck on kind of just this Roach Ling based army for right now. He doesn't really have enough to make a concise transition, although I'm sure he would love to as soon as that +2 attack finishes on his Spire. Seriously, he just keeps trying to find these positions where he can move in, but there's just so many siege tanks. Over 18 with this army. DRG going to be cleaned up here in the middle of the map, and this is Cure's time to push. Sending all of those over there to defend. 24 Mulus transition. There are 3 Thors with this, and that's what essentially I'm super worried about here. Yeah, he just switches those back over to splash damage. They try and get on top of all of this, but they're just getting taken down way too quickly here. Over here, the battle cruiser was killing off even more workers, and GG is called. So now we are hopping into game number 8, and the map pool has reset. So, yeah, DRG is going to choose Jaganantha for his... So, okay, it looks like Cure does finally need a minute. I was wondering when these guys were going to ask for a bit of a break. They have been going at it pretty hard over the last couple of games, so I would like to take this opportunity to just kind of just give you guys a little overview. Yeah, yeah, but you saw all that. Like, you saw all that. You just sign in with any link that you want. 1850 is you contribute to the pool. APS 214. I forgot to add my microphone to the scene, and that's why there was no sound. But there's also a lot of great ways that you can support as well. You got a replay pack for this event. You can purchase a jersey, and some of that money will go towards the prize pool. And on top of that, yeah, those are pretty much the best ways to do so. But you know what? There's an even better way to support your favorite players. You can check them out right over here in game number 8, spawning in the bottom position of Jagannatha. He is DRG. And his opponent up here in the top, he is Cure. Doing a very solid play in the last game. He's done mech twice in this series, and it's kind of 50-50 on how it's worked out for him. But, I mean, the thing is, DRG, he was so committed to that attack. He just really didn't get that transition in until very late. And by the time that he started to transition away from the Roach-Link Corruptor play, his opponent had already gotten the next step done. He already had 3 Thors expecting it. Took a lot of damage from the siege tank fire as well, so I think DRG just needs to be a little bit more careful as to where he engages into that kind of line. But yeah, we should be seeing a more relatively standard game, I'd assume, on Jagannatha, which is a bit of a bigger map. I don't really expect DRG to go for similar. It seems like he has kind of gone for the more aggressive cheeses in this series, past couple of games, but yeah, I don't think that's really gonna work for him here. And look at that, you're just trying to get that drone kill, but not gonna get it. Nice from DRG right there. 3cc once again. This is kind of the meta now. You know, it's just so easy on a lot of these maps to get that third CC without without really worrying about reprisal. Especially when you have the Hellions in front, you just kind of force your opponent to make a few more additional lings that they probably don't want, because that's drones that they're not getting. Oh, Reaper goes down. And unfortunately for Akir, that does mean that this creep spread is going to start going a little bit insane. DRG just really good at getting the purple carpet out. And you're going to have to be pretty good at it when you're pushing across this big monstrosity of a map. Now, Kira has found something that works for him, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. As once again, he's going to be going for that fusion core. Now, the question is that really... Is there... Like, what kind of mech would he go for off the back of this? Because the thing is, again, this is such a big map. There is a lot of room to cover. Plus a lot of places that Azur can rotate around. He is going to try and hide the fact that he has that fusion core. Not spotted by DRG. Just yet. And yeah, it does look like DRG is going to be playing it a little bit safer. He's got the Roach Warren up and running now, or it will be in just a second, and he's going to throw down the additional Spore Crawlers, kind of expecting Banshee or Battlecruiser. But now is kind of this little period where he can actually just go in there with a small hit squad of Lings and try and get some work done. I think that's the best option for him. Just kind of throw your opponent off a bit, because that Battlecruiser is not going to have a warp. It's going to have to warp across the map. You can't walk it across. It looks like he actually is just going to walk it across, so that's going to be a little bit delayed there as the Spire's going down. There you go. There's the warp in. Already 2 workers going down. The Queens are in position, however, so this Battlecruiser has to be careful. A lot of space that it can go through, though. Just trying to rotate between these 2 bases. I think the Hellions tried to go in, but this is the exact move that DRG needs on the other side of the map. The siege tanks nowhere to be found just yet. The wall is down as well. So for as much damage as he's taking on the other side, he is dealing it back twofold. Just needs to focus down those SCVs. It doesn't really matter about the units right now. And while this was a pretty big commitment from DRG, it did get 13 worker kills, even more on the way. And now he can just back up out of there. He bought himself a little bit of room. Muta's on the way as well, so not that much anti-air fire here, only those battle cruisers, and they're pretty slow, so you can really just play around them. Although this does mean that there's not going to be any corruptors to deal with the battle cruisers at home. I don't think that matters as much, just because once you get up to that high muta count, you could just kind of one-shot the units back at home, or at Kier's base. Gets a kill on the 5th. But once again, he is in. Unfortunately, not going to get too many kills with this, but the mutas are going to get right on top of the production, and I think Kier's got to be a little bit sad about that, but he's actually going to be able to start pushing this back. On the other side, the Battlecruisers just trying to get what damage done that they can. And that muta ball is actually growing pretty steadily right now. The Yamato, a little bit of a mistake there. Going to lose one of those battle cruisers as well. The transition into Thors is really nice, but what DRG's follow-up from this? He can't really stay on mutas for too long now that the transition is out. Right now, though, he is going to get right on top of those battle cruisers. Clean up the siege tanks at the 3rd. And that's really going to open up quite a bit of possibility for him, although he has to be careful not to take too many of those hits. 8 workers going down in that attack. Without too many Mutalisks lost, I imagine. Okay, so he has actually lost 11 Mutalisks so far in this game, taking some serious hits in that regard. That's a lot of gas. That's a lot of gas spent. Now that's kind of the thing. The Lings can start to trudge on forward. He wants to be careful of those Widow Mines. And doing a pretty good job. Excuse me. They're doing a pretty good job of dancing around. Oh, big connections right there, however. I think the big difference is Kira is taking a lot more damage, although that Widowmine connection was beautiful. But Kira's taking a lot more hits this time, and DRG is really kind of running him around, running him ragged. I think right now the best option to be would be to actually transition into Roach Tech, because if you transition into Roaches, there's only Thors and a couple of Cyclones, so there's not much else with this. Battlecruisers don't really do too well against them. Like Thors do terrible against them, and you'd have to transition back into siege tanks. Although Kira, probably already anticipating that, is going straight back into siege tank production. A little bit behind in terms of those upgrades as well. These are plus, about to be +2 attack on these mech units. A little bit of a Baneling run by, gonna get 9 workers. And DRG is really just starting to pull Cure apart right now. Although you gotta be careful because he's taking so many hits. He's wasting so many of those Mulisks. That ball is nowhere near as scary as it used to be anymore. So going up to Hive, that is the next greatest thing you can do. One thing to note is he's playing this very dangerously with these Mulisks. He has no detection whatsoever with this. And yeah, he keeps dancing around with some very red health Mulisks. And he just keeps losing too many, I feel, to be comfortable. Here you go, DRG going to be hitting both locations at once. I don't think he has enough to clean up this location. The Thor is going to be enough as well, so Cure holds, only losing 5 workers in that attack. So he's essentially stabilized here, but the thing is, DRG, like, I don't want to say he's hitting his head against a brick wall right now, but, you know, he's starting to make a crack. He's starting to make a crack in the pavement, where his skull has been rapidly hitting that wall. It's definitely a lot better than the last game, though, because he's not, you know, he hasn't thrown away just a huge supply lead in the pursuit of these attacks, and he is kind of trading out for these units a bit more efficiently than he would have. That's a huge run by right now. That is going to be fun to see. Yeah, here we go. The Baneling's going to go straight for the base, and they do get it. But now Cure is actually going to decide that this is his time to strike. He wants to hit before the next round of Zerglings and Banelings are coming out. We do have +3 attack coming down for those Mutas. They don't have any armor upgrades, however, so they're going to take quite a bit of damage from these mech units. And look at that. DRG just going to be going for a very big counterattack. He feels like that's his best option right now. Picking off the reinforcements. But the question is, will he have enough at home to defend? He does have a nice big Mutaball, but there's so many Thors with this army. I think at this point, you just need to pull back everything and defend. He does have Adrenal Glands, so that's going to help him out a bit, but he is so heavily supply blocked. I think Cure has brought this to a game number 9 as the last of the Mutalisks start to fall. That is going to be it. GG is called. So after a very quick 3-0 lead, we are down to this, the final countdown of the game. All right. So it's so funny because DRG is going to be playing in something else here in just a few minutes. I see all the other casters just waiting for this series to end. So guys, if you're watching, we'll get through this one. All right, looks like we got the go-go. But yeah, just so much good content coming out today. If you want to check out, the ITAX, I believe that's going over on the Trovo stream, trovo.live/alphaxsc2. DRG is going to be taking on Beyond, I believe, in that one, as well as a couple of other players. I'd have to check the lineup for it. But you know what? That lineup doesn't matter right now because spawning down here in the bottom position, he is Africa Freaks DRG. And his opponent up here in the top, he is DPG's Cure. And I am very excited to see where this game comes out. Cure has been on a tear with this mech style. DRG, he's been able to get some good damage done versus it. He's really having a trouble, though, kind of finishing it off, getting that transition in. What that transition would do is it would force Cure into a more uncomfortable situation. But the thing is, Cure's been kind of setting the pace because he's always had that transition done before DRG would do it. So if DRG transitions a bit quicker, he would be able to catch him. I think the big thing, though, is that he needs to be careful with where he engages and what kind of losses he's willing to take. You just can't keep throwing away these 40 to 50 army supply leads and expect to come out on top, especially when you're not really getting those super efficient trades. Now this time, Cure has decided to skip the Reaper. And instead going to be going for a 2-1-1. So what does this mean? It means DRG is going to have to be very careful with what he decides to do in the next couple of minutes here. So basically he has 3 very important things he needs. He needs the Baneling Nest. He needs about 4 or 5, maybe even 6 queens. And on top of that, he just needs to be able to slow down and kill the drop from Cure. If he can shut down that drop early on, the attack is not going to work as well. Because the thing about 2-1-1 is it's really aggressive. It allows you to kind of stay out on the map a lot longer. But if it gets cleaned up on the front, you're kind of dropped behind a little bit. DRG is going to get a scat out of this. There are no Marines in position, and now that he's seen the number out, he kind of recognizes what's up, but he doesn't go in and he doesn't confirm. Oh, that's a little bit risky for him there. But if anything, he should be dropping down those Evo chambers as well. And what that'll allow him to do is that'll allow him to get that upgrade lead nice and early. Actually going to add an armory on the back of this. Very interesting. What that tells me is that we are going to be seeing mines. Mines off the back. DRG just barely misses the drop, however. So Kier going to be able to get into a position. DRG does notice that something is up, so he is pulled back to defend, but there are no Banelings. The lair is about halfway complete, but you just need a little bit more here. You need to pull the queens forward and need to start picking down on those medevacs. Just stop the mobility here for Cure right now. We are going to see the addition of those Widow Mines. I believe he will be using those for drops off the back of this, so just using this as a frontal kind of distraction. But the big question is, how much damage is DRG going to actually take from that? We do see he's going up to Lair Tech, or Spire Tech right now, but you know, I'm still very curious to see where this is going for Cure. So far, DRG doing a very good job of kind of keeping this back, making sure that he's not taking any damage from it. Yeah, here we go. This is kind of the point where Kier's going to try and hit multiple locations at once. The addition of the Widow Mines makes it difficult for the Lings to engage into it. Huge connection. Going to shut down a lot of those Lings before they can really live their life into the fullest. And now we see that DRG kind of stuck on this constant stream of units. He's not making drones. He's stuck on 69, where he'd love to get a few more out. And honestly, the fact that DRG hasn't gone for those Evo chambers yet, that's a little bit worrying here. He's going to be pretty far behind in terms of those upgrades now. Now, the Mutas have not been spotted. So there is no missile turret. These guys are actually going to get a bit of work done. On the other side, we do see one small drop. Going to get a couple of worker kills over there. So it's relatively even, 8-6. Ruban's going to get a couple more kills over here. But here, you have to be careful not to lose that medevac. If you lose the medevac, then these drops just aren't worth it. Only getting about 2 workers per drop and losing that is just devastating. All right. So DRG. Now this is kind of the point where Cure, he's kind of mellowed out on his attacks. He's trying to defend these locations. And like the thing is, I don't think DRG has a huge lead here, so I do think DRG would like to get a little bit more ahead. But if Cure stops all the way, if he just lets DRG get up to that high tech, to the lair, pump out that huge mutaball, then it's just going to be too hard to break him. But right now, everything is pretty even. Take a look at that army size. DRG just holding a small advantage there. And unfortunately, he's just not able to find those little angles. More and more Widow Mines are dropping, and more drones are falling. But here we go. I think DRG just really wants the damage here. 9 more workers going down. So really, with every worker that he's losing, he's gaining a kill on the other side. I don't think he's too nervous about losing too many workers here, because he has been able to just pump out 46 Banelings. Here we go, however, DRG, he's completely maxed out, and now he's going to be looking to clean up shop here. So many Banelings. We're going to get right on top of the natural mineral line. And killing off quite a few workers, even some going into the main base. Those workers are so softened up. A gust of wind could kill them down. And behind us, we do have him going up to that infestation pit, up to that hive tech afterwards. And now Cure going to be struggling for the next couple of minutes here. He needs to stabilize. Oh, that is a lot of fresh mules. If the Mutas actually got in there, I would be so sad as a Terran player. Honestly, in this situation, I'd be so sad as a Terran player anyway, because DRG once again is maxed out. And the creep spread's starting to get close to that fourth base choice. It's getting close to the fourth base of Cure. And really, DRG is not really in soft contain mode. He's kind of just in death by 1,000 cuts mode, where he continuously picks off your units and then makes you pay for every single second that you're in this game. And here we go. Once again, huge Banelink connections all over the army of Cure. Killing off the natural, which is huge. Now, he does get cleaned up on the Link side, but he has 70 more in the production tab, getting 20 more workers. He's currently down to 38. And although he did lose another Mutalisk right there, I think he's just starting to run away with this game a little bit. If Cure's going to do something, he really needs to get in there and start doing it now with what he has, because every second that goes by, his economy just gets weaker and weaker. Yeah, DRG almost completely maxed out. Once again, he's got the Ultralisk cabin in the back, but I don't think he'll need it that much, just relying on these Lings. You know, Cure, he's stable, but it's kind of like he's in the hospital in a stable coma right now. I really like that. Just using the ricochet to kill that off. DRG is just giving this a lot of respect, however. He's essentially not trying to close out the game and throw away his lead. He's just really trying to play it safe in this situation. Bunch of Banelings getting picked off in the on the way to the natural as well. So now Cure is almost completely maxed out himself. We do have +3 upgrades about to finish up across the board for DRG. So that's going to help out quite a bit. The Ultras should be pretty nice, but there is plenty of Marauders with this army. So we'll have to see where DRG decides to attack next. I feel like the problem is if he takes a bad engagement, he's back to square one. And Cure is going to be able to really open up this game for himself. Not much else to say right now. You know, DRG is kind of just jumping around. He's got the speed upgrade for the Ultras on the way. Starting to get picked off on the creep, however. I would like to see him kind of respread that. It's kind of an afterthought for a lot of Zerg players at this point. But I don't think he's going to be able to kill him with this push. That is quite a bit of Banelings, but they're getting soaked up by the Marauders and the Thors, actually. So he takes that engagement, and now it's Cure's army supply lead. And as I say that, it is DRG's just a little bit. He is able to clean up the floors and finally getting some decent Baneling connections here. Going to push the units of Cure back. But in the process, he has to retreat again. And he has to regroup. A couple more attacks like that, though, and Cure is not going to be able to stay in this game. DRG is on the offense. Once again, the Widow Mine's going to do what they can, but DRG splitting off this time. Some good splits, going to make sure that the Banelings don't get the best connections here, and the Mutalisk Ball is actually not as scary as it was. He's going to add in 12 more to kind of supplement that. But DRG once again is going to be popping in here, currently up over 30 army supply, 40 army supply. It's going to clean up these bases. Actually take a lot of losses on the retreat, but in the end, it doesn't really matter too much for him right now. He just has to be careful not to take any bad trades. Trying to get up that ramp, but now no dice in that time. Just gonna soak up the hit with the Widow Mines. There is no armor on these Mutalisks, so they're still taking full damage. Here once again has over 100 army supply. But he's just getting pushed back further and further. The Baneling. The thing is, DRG has very little gas. He's got to take these bases and start bringing up the gas geysers a little bit more. Especially now that ghosts are on the way, so he's going to be losing quite a few units to snipes, etc. Oh, even losing so many Banelings to the Widow Mines is not helping his case, but he does get the kill over there. 18 workers going down. He's going to continue to try and push his way forward, but he will have to retreat once again. So this is a little bit of a misnomer here, even taking some bigger Widow Mine shots right there. And he's going to have to retreat. 104 lings on the production tab right now. 104. So, I mean, Cure, he's struggling, but he's still kind of holding strong, honestly. He's getting up a pretty decent ghost count as well, so the snipe's going to go off and really start to turn the tide in his favor a little bit, but the thing is he doesn't have a ton of supporting units with it. Widow Mine actually not going to fire as well, just the Trader Mine, so now his production is going to be completely compromised. It's going to come in once again. Banelings are getting soaked up on the Marauders, so they're not really getting those juicy Marine hits right now that he would like, but I don't think it matters. As the rest of his army falls, he cannot remake it. And that is going to be it. DRG in an absolute squeaker